Come and read more of my works on the website under UN. Keywords of the novel. Surprise, group pet, little cute treasure, cute flip through the entire wealthy circle without pop-ups. Surprise, group pet, little cute treasure, cute flip through the entire wealthy circle. Download the complete set of TXT. Surprise, group pet, little cute treasure, cute flip through the latest chapters of the entire wealthy circle. Chapter 1. Various Disgusts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Various Disgusts. Fu Mo's hen, just consider me begging you. Even for the sake of giving birth to a child for you, can you give me some money to treat my illness? The woman's pale face, with all the hair on her head falling off, and her long sick face now sunken and emaciated. She knelt on both legs on the ground. Fu Mo looked down at Gu Xian and the bastard next to her from a high position, his eyebrows and eyes furrowed, his gaze indifferent. Gu Xian, you drugged me and even gave birth to this child. Now you still have the face to ask me for money, dream. Gu Xian's face turned pale. And the skinny Anan beside her looked at this father she had never seen since birth, her eyes cautiously probing, but all she could see was disgust and indifference. Dad, it seems like I don't really like her, just let me beg you. Gu Xian tearfully knelt forward. Fu Mo furrowed his brows in deep cold and kicked Gu Xian away. Get out. Gu Xian, I only love Molly, don't let me see you again. After speaking, Fu Mo's hen turned around and left, and the door of the Fu family slowly closed to the mother and daughter. Anan knelt in place at a loss, looking at her lost mother beside her. The next second, Gu Xian gritted her teeth and a surge of resentment surged in her eyes. She raised her hand and slapped An's arm. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. If only I hadn't given birth to you, this lowly bastard. An's face turned pale from the beating, but she didn't dodge. Only in this way can mother calm down. Mom is sick, the baby can't argue with her. Gu Xian fought for a while, seeming tired. She got up from the ground and was about to leave. Anan covered her painful arm and wanted to follow up, but heard Gu Xian's angry roar, get lost. Don't follow me. Anan stood in a daze, with only those disgusted eyes in front of her. Gu Xian turned her head and walked away. She didn't know what she had done wrong, she could only look at the back that was getting farther and farther away from her. The next second, a rapid and sharp brake sound echoed through the sky, and the dark blue truck rushed uncontrollably towards Gu Xian. She was flipped over by the truck's head, and the back of her head slammed to the ground. In an instant, a bright red color exploded in An's eyes. Gu Xian collapsed in a pool of blood, convulsing. Anan's breathing tightened, and she immediately rushed up. Mom! Gu Xian's mouth and nose were overflowing with bleeding, her eyes were wide open, tears were streaming down her cheeks, and her throat was breathing hard. Anan looked at her mother lying on the ground in confusion, tears streaming uncontrollably. Mom! Mom, don't die, Anan will take you to the hospital. With a doctor, you'll be fine. Gu Xian's gaze drifted onto Anan's body. Anan looked at Gu Xian's pitch-black eyes. This is the first time she has interpreted reluctance and guilt from her mother's perspective. Gu Xian's bright red lips wriggled and made a subtle sound, yes. I'm sorry. After speaking, she closed her eyes as if she had swallowed her breath. The muffled pain in An's chest made her unable to straighten up. She breathed heavily, tears mixed together. She grabbed Gu Xian's hand and said, Mom, wake up. Anan begged you, don't sleep. Wake up. However, the only answer to her was the wind. She was in excruciating pain, tears streaming down her face, unable to catch her breath. Beside her were the sound of an ambulance honking its horn and the driver's angry and unpleasant scolding. Anan collapsed in pain, tears streaming down her face. Anan, there's no more mother. My eyes turned black and I completely fainted. Police station, interrogation room. What's your name? Gu Ian. Where's your mother? Dead. Where's Dad? Anan met the caring eyes of the female police officer's sister, and couldn't help but outline Fu Moshen's face in her mind. Her heart couldn't help but ache profusely. She lowered her head and said, Dad doesn't like me. The policewoman looked at the child sympathetically, wanting to offer some help to the best of her ability, and asked, What is your father's name? Now that your mother has passed away, he must have an obligation to take care of you. After a long time, Anan said 3 words, Fu Moshen. The policewoman breathed a sigh of relief and said, We will contact your father as soon as possible. You stay here and wait for him to pick you up and bring you home. Anan met the gentle eyes of the female police officer and couldn't help but see his father's cold and contemptuous gaze. She is a bit confused, will her father really pick her up? The young chest rapidly undulated, with a faint anticipation in the heart. The speed of the police station was very fast. In less than half an hour, Fu Moshen's car had already arrived at the station, followed by 3 pink-carved and jade-carved buns, each inheriting their parents' good genes, attracting many people's attention. Daddy, if Mommy finds out about your extra daughter, you'll be dead, said Fu Chi, the second son. Fu Mo's face darkened slightly as he remembered Gu Xian secretly giving birth to a daughter behind his back. He said coldly, that was an accident. Fu Zheng, the eldest son, has a face that is 7 or 8 times similar to Fu Moshen. Then I hope the accident doesn't happen again. Mommy knows it will be sad, he said. Fu Yan, the third son, lazily said, Daddy, we just discussed that we won't accept this extra sister for the sake of Mommy. Fu Moshen's face was cold and stern, I will handle it well. Inside the police station, the female police officer saw Fu Moshen coming and felt happy for Anan. She quickly led Fu Moshen to the direction of Anan. Fu Moshen followed the female police officer, followed by 3 steamed buns, which attracted the attention of others. Walking deep into the corridor, the cold wind flowed by. Fu Moshen watched from a distance as Anan was thin and small like a cat, his calves swaying on the long bench. His black and smooth hair complemented his snow-white skin. Although he was only 5 years old and had already seen the outline of a beautiful woman, his eyebrows and eyes were almost identical to those of Gu Xian. Fu Mo's face turned dark. Anan seemed to notice her gaze, turned around, and saw Fu Moshen's face. She immediately jumped off the bench and stood obediently in place. Dad. That rather unskilled title was something Anan had been brewing for a long time before finally having the courage to stumble and shout out. What came in exchange was not happy eyes, only the mocking eyes of the 3 children next to them, as well as Fu Moshen's cold sentence, I'm not your father. The cold male voice fell. Anan looked at Fu Moshen helplessly. Just because you want to become the daughter of our Fu family. She's as thin as a monkey. Fu Yan sneered and looked at her tattered clothes and shoes with disdain. Fu Chi chuckled lightly and said, Don't your mother take a shower and buy clothes for you? She dresses like a beggar, the smell is really unpleasant. Anan's breathing tightened and her eyes instantly turned red. She grabbed her clothes and retorted, Mom will give me a bath. I'm not a beggar either. Her voice was neither loud nor small, with a choking voice. But the 3 sons of the Fu family had no sympathy, only feeling that this sister was the enemy who was about to destroy her happy family, and her eyes glared fiercely at her. Fu Moshen frowned and said, That's how your mother taught you to scream loudly in the police station. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Remember, this time I don't want you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Remember, this time I don't want you. Anan's eyelashes fluttered rapidly as she looked at the tall man, his nose slightly sore and his eyes swollen. She closed her mouth and didn't say anything at all. Fu Moshen pinched his brow with a headache and said, How much money do you need? I'll give it to you. Don't come to me again in the future. Fu Moshen didn't hesitate to engrave a few words on his face that he wanted to clarify his relationship. Anan's eyes were dim, and the flickering anticipation in her chest was extinguished at this moment. She shook her head firmly and said, "I don't want your money." Fu Yen sneered, "No money. You still want to live in our Fu family. Our family definitely won't accept a mistress like you." Fu Yen spoke loudly, his eyes disdainfully looking at the thin and weak little girl in front of him. The little girl's eyes were visibly red, with tears streaming down her ink-white eyes, pitiful to the death. Fu Yen, who had intended to speak ill of each other, suddenly got stuck in his shell. Anan shook her head and denied, "I don't." Fu Mozhen took out the check he had already prepared, picked up An's hand, and stuffed it into her hand. "You can write how much money you need. But if you want to enter Fu's house, it's impossible." Anan looked at the check in her hand and felt a large gust of cold air gripping her young chest. She grabbed it and then threw it onto the ground. "I don't want your money." Fu Mo's eyebrows and eyes twisted even harder. "I won't take you back to the Fu family. I advise you to accept the money, otherwise you will starve to death and not come to us," Fu Qilio said with a sarcastic smile. Anan stood in place, with a pale face and rapid breathing. Fu Qi saw the situation and sarcastically said, "You're not trying to pretend to be pitiful with us, are you? We're not going to eat this kind of trick." She clenched her fingers tightly, holding back tears as if her young self-esteem was being trampled on the ground, allowing people to be contemptuous. Anan doesn't cry, no one feels sorry for crying. She told herself, holding back her tears alive. Fu Mozhen seemed a bit impatient. "I will find you a good nanny and give you a house. Don't bother me in the future. You don't need to take care of Anan's affairs." A cold male voice suddenly appeared. I saw the man standing tall and straight, with a handsome and tough face, and a hint of composure from a superior between his eyebrows and eyes. Fu Mozhen raised his eyebrows and said, "Who are you?" Anan also looked at this unfamiliar man, feeling a bit confused. Jiang Jicheng ignored Fu Mozhen's gaze and quickly walked over to Anan. He lowered his body halfway and reached out his hand. "Anan, hello. I am your mother's long-lost brother. My surname is Jiang and my name is Jicheng. You can call me uncle." Anan looked at this enthusiastic man, feeling a bit uncomfortable, but his eyes were very gentle. "Uncle?" Anan asked in a mosquito-like voice. Jiang Jicheng listened to the cautiously probing tone and the anxious gaze, which slightly hurt his eyes. He has been lost for many years and climbed to his current position through his own efforts. He has been searching for relatives for so many years, and finally found his only living sister, but passed away in a car accident. And my younger sister's daughter, who stayed in the world, actually lived such a miserable life and was humiliated by her biological father. Jiang Jicheng, who has always been swift and decisive, now has a gentle voice that is not as gentle as words. "Yes, I am my uncle," he said, and felt a sour nose, perhaps with similar blood flowing from her body. She felt that the person in front of her was very friendly. "Is this Anan?" A voice of surprise and joy suddenly appeared. I saw the big star Shenryue, who often appears on TV, walking quickly. Anan looked at this woman with a bright smile and a beautiful appearance, feeling somewhat bewildered. Jiang Jicheng quickly explained, "This is your aunt." Before Anan could speak, Shenryue hugged Anan first. The light fragrance on a woman's body is not irritating, it smells very comfortable and warm. The goodwill released by the two eased An's nervousness and unease. Anan looked at Jiang Jicheng and Shenryue and said in a milky voice, "Uncle, how are you?" Shenryue looked at An's big black grape-like eyes and obediently said that she was almost melted by An's cute appearance, so she quickly hugged and kissed her twice. "Since your family has found it, you don't have to rely on my dad anymore." Fu Yen beside him sneered coldly. The harsh voice turned An's face pale. I'm not relying on you." Shenryue raised her eyebrows and sneered, "Mr. Fu from Shiyu Group, right? Your children's upbringing is like this, and they speak ill of a little girl. Fu Mozhen never expected that Gu Xian would be the younger sister of Jiang Jicheng. In recent years, the only family in Beijing that has been able to compete with him on an equal footing is the Jiang family. Fu Mozhen's face was cold and stern. It's just the child's previous argument. Mrs. Jiang is a bit too stressed, he said. Jiang Jicheng sneered. Fu Mozhen, I used to think you were just playing tricks, but now I realize that not only are you playing tricks, but your character is also playing tricks. Fu Mo's deep face instantly turned black. What nonsense are you talking about? My dad is not someone like you, you bastards. Fu Qi beside him was furious and shouted loudly. Jiang Jicheng directly picked up Fu Qi with one hand and said, Indeed, what kind of family education produces what kind of seeds? Children, I am your uncle, who is more than 20 years older than you. Are you polite to shout at me so loudly? The terrifying aura overwhelmed Fu Qi, causing him to tremble for a moment. Fu Mozhen coldly shouted, Jiang Jicheng, let go of my son. Upon hearing this, Shen Rui's eyes turned to the sky and she said, Mr. Fu really has a love for protecting the calf. He is your son, and you feel sorry for him. Our family, Ananan, is also your daughter. She is so cute, beautiful, gentle, polite, and humble. Jiang Jicheng coughed and gestured with his eyes, Madam, you can stop now. It's an exaggeration. Shen Rui snorted, My family Anan is so good, you actually don't want her. You really have no taste. The Fu family gritted their teeth in anger, but they were also afraid of Jiang Jicheng and could only swallow their anger. Anan listened to her uncle and aunt talking to her, and since childhood, no one has spoken to her. However, this was the first time she saw her uncle and aunt defending her small self-esteem, and her heart softened, her nose sour. Jiang Jicheng looked at Anan and said, Anan, are you willing to go home with your uncle? At that moment, tears welled up in Anan's eyes, like golden beans. Shen Rui quickly comforted, Anan, if you feel like you can't accept us for a while, we can wait for you first. Anan shook her head. She doesn't have a mother now, and this so-called father also hates her. She's not stupid. She knows that her uncle and aunt in front of her really like her. Anan is willing to be with you, she said. At that moment, Jiang Jicheng and Shen Rui showed a look of ecstasy. Jiang Jicheng suppressed his joy and turned to look at Fu Mozhen coldly. Since you don't want Anan, then let's sign this letter of severing the father-daughter relationship. From now on, Anan will be the daughter of our Jiang family. Fu Mozhen looked at the book, The Separation of Parent-Child Relationships, and then lowered his head to take a look at Anan. Dad, hurry up and sign it. The provincial family is bothering our family again. Fu Yen said with a strange tone. Fu Jing nodded and agreed, that's right. Dad, we'll also have less trouble in the future. Before Fu Mozhen could take the document, Anan stood on tiptoe and reached out to pick up the document from Jiang Jicheng's hand. Jiang Jicheng was a bit panicked, thinking that Anan had changed his mind. What are you doing? Do you still want to rely on our dad? Fu Yan's angry eyebrows perked up. Fu Mo saw the situation and said coldly, Gu Ian, it's impossible for me to take you back to the Fu family. Anan didn't speak, but instead stuffed the document into his hand like Fu Mo had just given her a check. There was an instant silence. An's black eyes were filled with stubbornness and seriousness, wriggling her small mouth and speaking clearly word by word. Remember, this time I don't want you anymore. That voice was soft, but it was resounding, with a firm gaze. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Variety Show. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 4. Doll's Travel Adventures. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Doll's Travel Adventures, MMM. Anan nodded. Shen Rui was knocked unconscious by happiness. She had thought that Anan had just arrived at the Jiang family and would not adapt so quickly. However, she didn't expect that she would be willing to take the initiative to accompany her to the variety show. After all, none of those 4 little ghosts are willing to go on a variety show for her. Shinryue gave Anan a fierce kiss and said, "Anan, you are really my little angel." An's face turned red. The door behind him creaked, and as soon as Jiang Jiqing pushed it open, he saw his wife holding Anan and kissing her fiercely. Jiang Jiqing smiled helplessly and said, "Did I come at a bad time?" And at this moment, there are still 3 other children from the Jiang family standing behind him. The 4 children of the Jiang family are all very good looking. Sister Jiang walked out and looked up and down at Anan, her eyes quite disdainful. "Are you new here?" The look in her eyes made Anan feel a bit scared, but she still nodded. Jiang Ko coolly threw down the school bag specially designed for kindergarten, which flew towards Anan. Anan thought Jiang Ko was going to hit her and instinctively wanted to dodge backwards. However, the backpack landed steadily at An's feet. Jiang Ko raised his chin and said, "This is all my snacks inside, take them and eat them." Anan blinked and Jiang Yu next to her raised her hand. "Big sister, I also want to eat it." Jiang Ko glared fiercely at Jiang Yu and said, "You can't do it." Jiang Yu let out an "oh" sound, bit her finger, and withdrew her hand. Anan realized that this was specially prepared by Jiang Ko for her. Anan's nose was sour and he said, "Thank you, big sister." "What big sister's head?" Jiang Ko stomped angrily, "Call me Jiang Ko." "Thank you, sister Jiang Ko." Jiang Ko almost couldn't catch his breath, but when he saw An's innocent eyes again, he instantly let out his breath and said, "Forget it, what do you mean by your name?" Anan smiled foolishly. At this moment, a boy like a little prince walked out with a gentle expression, "Sister An, I am your brother Jiang Yuhan, and I don't have anything for you. You reach out and I'll give you a gift." As soon as these words were spoken, the other children of the Jiang family stepped back together. Anan foolishly reached out his hand, and Jiang Yuhan gave a meaningful smile. The next second, his hands were wet, and Anan looked at the gurgling frog in his palm. Jiang Yuhan revealed his pride in the success of the prank. However, Anan frowned, picked up the leg of the toad with one hand, and then grinned at Jiang Yuhan, "Thank you for the gift from brother Yuhan. I really like it." Jiang Yuhan. Why is the reaction different from what he imagined? Bored. If not lonely, Anan couldn't help but look at the boy sitting in the corner. The boy's snow-white and flawless skin was as transparent as jade, and there was a hint of coldness and alienation between his eyebrows and eyes. His delicate face was like a BJD doll, with long curled eyelashes and dark and bright eyes. His temperament was somewhat lazy like a cat. Anan Chang is so old, it's the first time he has seen such a beautiful person. This should be the 3rd brother Jiang Macheng. Alright, let's all go downstairs for dinner." Jiang Jiqing hurriedly said. Shenryue walked up and grabbed Jiang Yuhan's ear, "Who let you prank your sister?" "Jiang Yuhan, next time you're like this, I'll fill your room with frogs." Jiang Yuhan quickly apologized, I was wrong." The family went to the restaurant together and had a meal, and everyone was particularly concerned about the new Anan. Anan looked at the crowded living room, surrounded by fireworks, warm and cozy. Thinking of the tragic fate of the Jiang family in the novel, An's face couldn't help but turn pale. She must take good care of them. 3 days later, the filming of Doll's Travel Adventure officially began. Shenryue took Anan to do a lot of care these days, and even selected many beautiful little dresses for An. She was afraid that Anan would not be used to interacting with strangers, so she directly chartered a plane to Kunda. Kunda is a region similar to Tibetan culture. And Doll's Travel Adventure is about traveling to mysterious areas across the country. The previous season's Doll's Travel Adventure received great praise, so the second season's live broadcast was very popular. Shenryue just got off the airport with a big and small bag. The equipment of the production team was already ready, and people rushed into the live broadcast room in an instant, with barrage showing explosive growth. Coming, why does this guest have Shinryue? It's so annoying, don't I like her alone? +1. This thief stole the Magnolia Award that Molly should have. Silent, Molly from our family is going to participate in this variety show, and she is also going to participate. Is there anyone to take care of this big mom? To be honest, I am curious about Shinryue's peculiar appearance and what kind of strange creatures she can produce. No one wouldn't know that Shinryue is a plastic surgery monster. The child she gave birth to is probably very ugly. Wait, it must be ugly. The barrage of curses kept going. Shinryue waited for Anan at the entrance of the bathroom, and after a while, Anan walked out of the bathroom. At the moment when the camera was aimed at Anan, it seemed as if the camera had lit up. I saw that milky white and soft doll face, like a New Year painting doll, with rosy cheeks and delicate eyelashes. Those big eyes, like black grapes, seemed to be surrounded by countless stars. Their pupils were beautiful and clean, and their red lips were soft and plump, with a pair of ponytails tied and a small backpack on their back. It looked like they had walked out of an anime. Damn it, this child. So cute. Help, isn't this really BJD doll becoming a genius? What a supermodel's face. So cute, which guest's child is this? However, Anan scattered her steps and threw herself into Shinryue's arms. Mom. According to the regulations of the program team, the children brought can only be referred to as mothers or fathers by their parents, which brings in a sense of familiarity between the children and their parents and mainly provides a better experience for the audience. Shinryue quickly pinched her small face and said, "Let's go and meet up with other guests now." Anan nodded obediently. Damn it. Such a beautiful child is actually Shinryue's child. Instantly withered, perhaps this is disgust with the house and darkness. Same thing, I suddenly feel less cute. I'm really looking forward to Molly's child. I heard Molly's husband is the big shot from the Fu family. Oh my god, that one from the Fu family. How genetically challenged Molly's child is. Little Ba always nurtures a record. At this moment, the Fu family. The other two children of the Fu family, who were sitting in the living room watching the live broadcast, saw Anan passing by in a flash. Fu Yan frowned and said, "Why did she even participate in this program? Is this program so low grade? Why didn't anyone mention it in advance?" Fu Chi's face didn't look much better either. She did it on purpose. She definitely wants to tell mommy that she's daddy's child and then break up our family. This scheming woman. Fu Yan gritted his teeth, "We absolutely cannot let her succeed." Fu Chi sneered, "Of course not. I'm calling now to ask my older brother to keep an eye on her. I absolutely can't let her tell mommy the truth." Fu Yan nodded and said, "I'll go find someone to buy a navy right now, which will tarnish her reputation. I'll see if she's still on this show." The two people nodded to each other and began to take action. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Get out of the program. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Get out of the program. Shinryue and Anan boarded the car arranged by the program team and arrived at the convergence point. At this point, 3 guests are already waiting. Shinryue led Anan out of the car. As soon as she got off the car, a cold gaze suddenly stabbed towards her like an arrow. Anan looked up and saw Fu Zheng's gaze cold as he looked at her. Anan breathed heavily, and Shinryue didn't seem to have thought that Molly would participate. Thinking about the relationship between Molly and Fu Zheng with Anan, she immediately turned her head to look at Anan and said, "Anan, are you okay?" Anan shook her head and said, "Mom, I'm fine." The more it was like this, the more guilty Shinryue felt. "If you don't want to participate, we can withdraw now. If we exit now, there will be another rumor that Shinryue is playing big cards." Anan smiled immediately and said, "It's okay, Mom. I'm fine. I'm a child of the Jiang family now, so I won't be sad anymore. Shenryue sighed, her eyes filled with heartache. Fu Jing couldn't help but feel sarcastic when he heard the sentence, I am now a child of the Jiang family. The girl had been thinking of climbing their Fu family a few days ago, but now she has turned around and hooked up with the Jiang family again. Sure enough, she shares the same moral character as her mother. He will never let her get close to mommy. Molly approached Shenryue with a smile and said, Senior Shen, long time no see. Thinking of the relationship between Molly and Anan, Shenryue instinctively frowned. The scene instantly focused on Shenryue's furrowed brow, and the barrage instantly exploded. Damn it, what expression on Shenryue's face. Molly took the initiative to greet her, but she still does this. Who wouldn't know if she stole Molly's Blanc Award? Help, by the way, Fu Jing has such a noble young master's temperament. Fu Jing truly deserves to be the son of the Fu family. Feeling a sense of wealth, I suggest crowdfunding fan Shenryue. Don't you think the child brought by Shenryue has a strong tea flavor? I am now a child of the Jiang family, and I have a feeling that my father is Li Gang. Sure enough, dragons give birth to dragons, and phoenixes give birth to phoenixes. Whatever kind of thing this is, it gives birth to whatever kind of thing it is. Fu Jing is so adorable. Obviously, Shenryue had a poor reputation, and even Anan was scolded. Shenryue pursed her lips and said, long time no see. Anan, let's go over there. After speaking, Shenryue immediately pulled Anan to the other side, and in the barrage, she instantly interpreted another meaning. Is bullying so obvious, hee, relying on her seniors to bully the younger generation like this, Aunt Shen quickly got out of here. People gathered together, and this time there were a total of 6 guests, with Molly being the most popular, while the rest were similar. The group with the highest criticism was Shenryue. The director of the production team clapped his hands and said, Congratulations to the guests for successfully joining our second episode of the doll group. According to traditional practice, we will first answer the questions in the live broadcast room, and the elders will repeat the questions from the netizens. Let the children come out and answer the questions. In this segment, the previous season's program had a full effect, and many famous scenes were born here. This is also the best time to showcase the logical thinking of cute treasures. The first group to go on stage is the first one, a veteran in the entertainment industry who just won an award a while ago. It's normal for netizens to ask such questions. After 4 more groups, we arrived at Molly's first group. Molly aimed at the camera and smiled shyly, I'm a bit nervous. Molly from our family is an actress, so she still feels a bit scared when it comes to variety shows. So cute. Fu Jing is also so cool. Fu Jing looked gently at Molly and said, Mommy, don't be nervous. Just sit down and I'll answer by myself. Molly nodded with some relief in her eyes. Fu Jing glanced at the title and read out the question, Do you know Fu Jing? You were like a novelist when you were a child. Auntie can wait for you for another 10 years. Fu Jing smiled at the camera and said, Auntie, 10 years later, I'm only 16 years old and still breaking the law. Puff, laughed to death. Fu Jing is so good at speaking. I'll go. Many 5-year-old children don't recognize words, so they probably have a lot of vocabulary to answer questions on their own. He is truly the future heir of the Fu family. Fu Jing answered several professional questions in a row, and he cleverly answered them all. In an instant, the enthusiasm for his love in the live broadcast room reached an unprecedented high. After Fu Jing finished answering, it was An's turn. Shenryue looked at An and said, Are you ready? An nodded. Shenryue flipped through the question interface and saw the first question. She instinctively read it out, Anna, what do you think of your mother stealing Molly's White Orchid Award? As soon as these words were spoken, the atmosphere in the entire live broadcast room dropped to freezing point. I'll go, the questions selected by this program team are so exciting. Isn't that right? A normal production team wouldn't ask such sharp questions. This production team couldn't have made such a low-level mistake. An's face slightly changed. This is clearly a dilemma. Shenryue was a bit flustered and quickly moved on to the next question. You don't have to answer the question of An, let's ask the next one. Before Shenryue could even speak, the tablet suddenly emitted a mechanical female voice. Gu Ian, what courage does your mistress's daughter have to go on a variety show? The instant comments exploded, even the program team was confused. This is clearly being hacked into the program team system by someone. Someone is deliberately making things difficult for her. Am I going to the mistress's daughter? Is Shenryue the mistress? Isn't that right? The production team labeled Shenryue and An as just aunts and nephews, just calling them mom in the production team. So An is the third party's daughter. I'll go. It's so disgusting. How can the third party's daughter be paired with a variety show? Get out of the show. Get out of the production team. The curses kept coming out. Fu Jing next to him looked at An with a theatrical expression. Shenryue immediately turned off the tablet, trying to turn off those sounds, but the question kept asking if An was the daughter of the mistress. An's beautiful eyes turned towards the camera, and her childish voice was now very calm, saying, regarding the first question, as the highest television program award in China, the White Orchid Award has always been fair, just, open, and transparent. However, when my mother, who is also my aunt, was questioned by netizens about any issues, the judges of the White Orchid Award had already provided the rating values in a timely manner, and the rating values were normal. This no longer requires self-verification of innocence, and those who are clear will be clear. This statement was loud and clear, with a calm demeanor that clearly surpassed the calmness of peers. For a moment, the barrage of curses decreased slightly. Everyone is waiting for An to answer the second question. An looked at the camera and took a deep breath. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Perfect answer. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Perfect answer. This question is too tricky and too bad. An doesn't want to evade this issue. She knew it was a buried mine. I can't explain clearly this time, it will be brought up again in the future, which will affect my aunt. Mom has passed away. An shook her head, her fair and tender face and firm black eyes adding a touch of composure to her appearance. Anan doesn't know her mother's emotional life, she only remembers that in the last moment of her life, she was still saying, she loves me. The light in An's eyes extinguished with this sentence. If you don't like An appearing on the program, I'm sorry. A cute little cutie bows to the camera. What she said was so sincere, all about emotions. Not only Molly's fans are watching the program. There are also passers-by who are specifically pursuing this variety show. Their teenage hearts are about to melt, but they also feel particularly heartbroken. What's going on with the questioner on the show? Is it really appropriate to say such things to a child? This question is full of malice. It's too much to push a little girl so step by step. Ah, little angel Anan, don't be sad, it makes me feel heartbroken. A group of people are like crazy. First of all, the child is innocent. Secondly, the child is innocent. Finally, the child is innocent. Shenryue stood beside her, her eyes turning red. She simply threw the tablet of this bad thing aside. Don't be sad, Anan. Mom is with you. Shenryue held Anan in her arms and comforted her. The audience already knows that they are not in a true mother-daughter relationship. But now the two of them are holding each other, it's very beautiful. How do I feel? Like Shenryue is not as bad as what is said online. To be fair, it's really nice for an aunt to care so much about children. Most of the speakers now are passers-by, who are generally more rational. Molly's fans were dissatisfied and typed in the barrage. Shenryue should be dressed up, she knows how to act in front of the camera. Can Shen Lianhua be so good? I don't believe it. The discussion in the barrage had unconsciously shifted to Shenryue, and the conversation between the mistress and the child was successfully interrupted. After this wave of operations, the popularity has been completely hyped up, and the production team has only arrived late. There were some technical issues with the tablet just now, and now is the final question. Anan child, how can I have a daughter like you painlessly? After being scolded by the audience for a long time, the production team intentionally sold out and chose a very gentle question in the barrage. Is Anan like this? But Anan already has a mother and can't be a daughter for other sisters. But don't be sad, sisters. Anan will give you a hug. Anan tilted her head and squinted her eyes, extending two slightly fleshy little hands and slapping them in the air. The bullet screen immediately flashed with words like, cute, and, love to death. Fu Jing watched from the side, feeling even more shameless in his heart. Put on an airs. Let her successfully resolve it this time, and we must not do so in the future. Mommy has already suffered enough harm, we cannot let her harm her. At this point, the first round of the program team's process has been completed. Okay, all the cute kids have already answered the netizens' questions. Next, we will officially start this adventure journey. The director excitedly announced with a loud loudspeaker, and all the celebrities and cute children applauded along. The program, Dolls Travel Adventure, will select a recording location to showcase cute children and their parents. Live streaming online during the recording period of the program. Cute children and their parents have to rely on their own efforts to secure housing, food, and travel expenses. Next is our house selection process. Here are a few partial pictures of the rooms, and cute kids will choose the house to live in at night. After the director announced, a whiteboard was brought next to him, with photos pasted on it. This is several different types of houses. Each room was only enlarged and a partial view was taken. The group of actors will choose first. This segment may seem simple, but the production team is also very clever. Next, it's Fu Zheng's turn to choose. He has already identified a house with local characteristics. The most important thing is that this house should be the one with the best conditions among all the pictures. He must fight for this for his mother. Okay, it's Fu Zheng's turn now. Let's see which room he's planning to choose. The director held a loudspeaker and created a tense and excited atmosphere. He is also one of the highlights of this program. Can Xiaoba always choose the best room? This program has a deep routine. I'm already starting to worry. If Molly and Fu Zheng lived in a terrible room, I would be very sorry. Fu Zheng walked up to the whiteboard and decisively chose the room he had already favored. As soon as the production team saw it, they started to mess around. The director took out a deformation robot toy from the nearby box. Fu Zheng, are you sure you want to choose that room? It doesn't look good at all. He pursed his lips and sneered. Once I've figured it out, I'll choose this one. Fu Zheng nodded very firmly. Uncle gave you this toy. I don't want to see you and your mother suffer. Let's move to a different room. Personally, I'll tell you secretly that room is the best. The room picture referred to by the director is the worst condition among all the houses. This condition is poor, it's not a joke. This room has been in disrepair for a long time, and the doors and windows are creaking. There is no extra furniture inside except for a bed and a table. It can be called survival in the wilderness. In order to find houses with different conditions, the production team also put in a lot of effort. The children who haven't had their turn to choose yet have their eyes lit up. He wants that toy. When I came to participate in the program this time, the director's team didn't allow me to bring anything except clothes and essential daily necessities. He brought over a remote-controlled car specifically. It was taken away before recording. The child grew angrier and angrier as they thought, their eyes turning red, and they looked at each other eagerly. Coming, the director started to mess things up. Fu Jing won't be fooled, will he? Don't change, this room is the best. The audience in the barrage has already become anxious, especially Molly's fans. This director is so annoying. If the goddesses and children were to live in a bad room, they wouldn't even have time to feel sorry. No, I believe in my own choice. Fu Jing shook his head coolly. He reached out his hand, indicating that he needed the house key now and would not replace it again. Ah, what Uncle said is true. If you don't like this toy, there's a basket over there for you to choose from. The director refused to give up and continued to set him up. Children, how can they resist this temptation? Uncle. Fu Zheng looked at him seriously and said, "You talk a lot." End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Sure enough, the control group. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Sure enough, the control group. Haha, how cool, the director's abacus is empty. What a determined little boy on the barrage. There was another wave of praise. The director touched his nose. The temptation is not very effective, so we can only hand over the key. Fu Jing walked towards his mother with joy, holding the key. He snorted coldly when he saw Anan standing next to him. I don't know if Daddy and his 2 younger brothers have seen today's program. There must be some, they won't be absent from the program where Mommy participates. Something must be done to drive away this eye-catching person as soon as possible. Next, let's invite our next child to appear, Gu Ian. It's An's turn. She approached the whiteboard with her short legs and tried to look up at the few photos. Which room is good to choose? I don't even know which one is better from this perspective. Anan tried hard to think and pointed to one of them based on her intuition. Is this one good? She obediently turned around and asked Shinryue for her opinion. It's okay, Anan. We'll live whichever you choose. Shinryue gestured to her with encouragement. Then I'll take this one. Anan made a choice. Are you sure you want this one? Anan, little friend. The director wants to liven up the whole flower again. Just take this one, thank you, Uncle. Anan nodded and didn't forget to say thank you. Okay, it seems that our children today are all very determined, so let's take the key. The director handed the keys to the room to Anan, and now all the families have been selected. Next, the director finally revealed the true appearance of these rooms. Molly's mother and son's room is the best 2-story building with a yard. The next veteran actor, Mo Wen-shan, is a unique family in courtyard. If a newly appointed actor becomes successful, it is an ordinary small room. Shinryue and Anan were relatively miserable. Although the house can accommodate people, it looks too simple and desolate. The doors and windows are both broken. Director, are you sure about this house? I thought I had been assigned the worst house, but Cheng Cheng sighed beside me. After seeing Shinryue's treatment, I couldn't help but question. Of course, this is a parent-child variety show, and the most important thing is to see how everyone can travel and get along with their children. The director smiled. His mind is full of abacus. Anan, it's okay. As long as we tidy up properly, the room can still be occupied. Shinryue was surprised when she first saw the photo. But she quickly became strong. I know, Mom, we can build a house together. Anan has a serious expression on her face. She had already been mentally prepared and was indeed the control group of the female lead. Molly and her son got the best house, and what they got was the worst one. Okay, then let's set off to our place of residence. The director's passionate punches. Next, everyone got on the bus. On both sides of the road are endless mountain ranges, as well as green grasslands. Occasionally, one can see flying flags on the road. There are various colors, small triangles, fluttering in the wind. After driving for over an hour, they arrived at their destination. The scenery here is really beautiful, sighed Mo Wen-shan. This place has very distinctive ethnic characteristics. This is close to the local pastoral area, and most of the people living here make a living by raising livestock. Consuming cattle is a characteristic animal husbandry breed here. Local herdsmen usually have a home here and a home on the ranch. The house borrowed by the program team is the place where the herdsmen live. I would like to thank all the herdsmen for their generosity. The director briefly introduced this place, and everyone applauded along. The houses they want to live in are scattered here, and they are not too far from each other. Of course. The director wouldn't be so kind as to directly tell them the location of the room. You have already seen the photos of the house before, and the next task is to find the house you want to live in through the photos. Come on. There is another task coming. This task sounds like it's not that difficult. Can we choose not to do the task? Mo Wenshan jokingly asked. Of course not, I will send you a photo of the house with the direction information written on the back of the photo. The program group has been very awesome this time. At least it didn't completely darken their eyes. Next, the footage in the live broadcast room will also be divided into 4 parts to record them. The cameraman responsible for following up on Shinryue Anan is already in place. Anan, let's go find the house. Don't worry, it will be very fun, just like. Shinryue wanted to find a suitable word to describe it. It's like playing hide and seek. An's eyes lit up as she had seen others playing this game before. At that time, she wanted to join those children, but they didn't take her to play. Yes, has Anan ever played hide and seek? Shinryue smiled and narrowed her eyes. No, they don't take me to play. Anan shook her head. Like the little son, she looked a bit disappointed. It's okay, Anan. After you go back, let your brothers and sisters play with you. We can play as long as we want. Shinryue squatted down and quickly comforted Anan. Anan nodded hard and said, It's okay, Mom. Let's go find a house quickly. After the live broadcast shots were separated, the traffic was also synchronized and separated. Currently, Molly has the highest number of live viewers. Her fans have been blowing rainbow farts in the comments section. Fu Zheng is so cute and smart, his analysis is very clear, I have never seen such a smart child before. Look at Fu Zheng, then look at the bear kids at home, I really want to kill him. At this point, Fu Zheng had already analyzed the direction they were going towards next. Molly smiled and looked at him, following her son's instructions. No one praises Molly's parenting style. It's really good to let the child make their own decisions. Really, Molly is a ceiling-level mother, isn't she? I remember when I was a child, I didn't know what I said and was directly scolded by my family. The atmosphere here is very good. Her fans occasionally run to Shinryue's side to take a look. Every time I come in, I have to swipe the screen on the barrage. Not yet starting to take action, hee, laughing to death. Isn't Shinlevcha quite skilled at stealing trophies? Why can't he find a house? Really, my character is too bad. I've been looking for houses so often. While they were giggling, Shinryue and Anan also began to set off. The two of them were not in a hurry, looking at the ethnic buildings around them while following the directions provided by the program team. Anyway, houses with such distinctive features are easy to notice. An's big eyes kept blinking, unable to see enough. This is her first time walking so far, everything around her is so novel to her. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Cleaning the Room. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Cleaning the Room. Several groups of families gradually found their chosen houses. Anan and Shinryue stood in front of the gate. Shinryue was completely stunned by this environment. Not to mention living here, she had never even seen such a house before. Is this house dilapidated enough to live in? She asked subconsciously. The door was shaky, and the small yard was full of weeds. Only a few small flowers growing in the middle could be called artistic conception. Anan decided to choose this room after seeing this photo, but she didn't expect it to be like this. But her little brain is full of melon, there's no time to think about these now. A sentence that my mother blurted out just now could easily lead to her being criticized, although Shinrueru herself did not have any malicious intent. Sure enough, now the barrage has started to mock and mock. Hey, what kind of wealthy lady is Shinrue? She came to participate in the program and thought this was their villa. The artist's remuneration is too high, it's so high that they are now floating high, hehe. I get annoyed when I see Shinrue, and now I'm even more annoyed when I hear what she says. I'm decisive and black. Mom, what do you mean? I think this house can still accommodate people. Anan turned her head with a milky voice and asked her. Mom was wrong. She didn't mean that, she just said that the people living here must be very difficult, and the housing conditions are not that good. Shinrue patted her mouth and squatted down to look at Anan. She still remembers that when Anan first came home, she vaguely revealed that the living conditions in the past were also very poor. I hope what I just said doesn't remind Anan of the past. I understand, Mom loves the people who live here. Anan's eyes lit up, and this description was very spiritual and accurate. Shinrue has never suffered much. In the process of growing up, she gained a lot of love from her family. After getting married, her husband treated her well and her children were also very sensible, which made her personality a bit silly and sweet. If it weren't for this, she wouldn't have been trampled on as Molly's control group everywhere in the entertainment industry. The internet will naturally expand a person's words and actions. Sometimes when she expresses something that doesn't mean it, it becomes very troublesome after being misinterpreted. Anan's explanation was clearly conveyed to every audience watching the live broadcast through the screen. Just now, the person who was speculating about Shinrue with a dark mind couldn't help but smirk. But they didn't feel that way, still making sarcastic comments. What kind of outfit is it? Anan is just a little white lotus at a young age. Just now, I accidentally spoke my heart out, and now I'm starting to make up for it. I want to be a kind person again, so save it. Molly's fans dance so badly that even passers-by who come in to watch the live broadcast can't stand their style. Almost enough, she's just a child. Is it appropriate to speculate about her like this? It's ridiculous for you to interpret too much without being straightforward. If anyone doesn't want to watch, then quickly get out of the live broadcast room and don't stay here to get in the way. Molly's fans were even more displeased when they saw someone refute, and the two factions started arguing on the barrage. Although the house they were assigned to was not very good, Shinrue was an optimistic person. After comforting Anan, she rolled up her sleeves and decided to tidy up well. The loose door panels and windows are not a big problem. Although there is only one bed and table in the room, they have been cleaned in advance. Now there is only a thin layer of soil on top, just wipe it a little. Shinrue brought water, and Anan also came to help. The mother and daughter, holding towels, started having sex and tidying up in front of the room. Anan is short and she can't reach the higher parts, so she can only wipe the lower parts. This towel is a big piece, and Anan's hand is a small one, making it particularly difficult to grasp. She rubbed hard every time, and then had to flip her left and right hands and start over again. After wiping one place, Anan was moving her steps to another place. Just wiping back and forth a few places, Anan wiped the sweat off her forehead. I'm really tired. Anan breathed a sigh and secretly reached out to pinch her arm. Such a lovely insensible child, I really want to steal her directly. Hee, my aunt really likes it. Oh my God, when she's tired, she's just pinching her little arm alone. She can't cry or make a fuss. What kind of angel child is this? Anan's hard-working appearance attracted a large wave of fans. After all, who wouldn't like watching soft and fragrant children cleaned carefully? Shinrue is not proficient in doing household chores, but she is also working hard with a serious face. Some netizens who were originally very dissatisfied with her have also changed their thoughts. Shinrue doesn't look very similar to what she said online. I thought if she were to clean up, she would definitely play big tricks and look for a director. Shinrue surprisingly persevered, isn't it that she loves to play big cards? It should be said or not, Shinryue is really beautiful. The atmosphere of comments is gradually changing, and Shinryue and Anan have already finished cleaning up. Both of them were exhausted, but looking clean, many homes raised a smile. This is really a great sense of achievement. Shinryue happily picked up Anan and wanted to push her up twice, but she was too weak to put her down again. She pointed to the room and said, "Anan, look at this. It's our labor product, it's really clean." Anan smiled for a moment, feeling a little embarrassed again. She quickly put away her smile and pointed at her finger, saying, "Anan didn't do anything, it's all Mom who tidied it up." "Who said that? Without Anan's help, I wouldn't have succeeded. Let's give it a slap and celebrate." Shinryue noticed that Anan sometimes has a slight sense of inferiority. So, she will definitely encourage Anan more. At that moment, someone came to visit their cottage. Because the room that Fu Jing drew was very good, the mother and son quickly found their own house. It is not only a two-story building, but also has all the household appliances and facilities inside. And from the window, you can see the scenery outside, which is like a scenic room that tourists should stay in. "Baby, you're really amazing. Your luck is amazing." Molly praised her child. When Fu Jing faced his mother, he felt a little more shy and not so cold. He scratched his head and said, "I'm a man, this is all I should do. But the conditions here are so good, I don't know what's going on with Ryu." Molly frowned slightly, showing great concern. Her appearance was originally clear and elegant. At this moment, this expression appeared even more pitiful and endearing. "Mommy, don't worry about them, that's the room they've drawn." End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Hands on your own food and clothes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Hands on your own food and clothes. Actually, what Fu Jing wants to say is not just that, but because he is currently live streaming, there are some things that he cannot say. He let out a sad sigh in his heart. That Gu Yayan is really annoying. She has already left and deliberately wants to appear on this program to get close to her mother. We must not let her achieve her wish, we must not let them ruin Daddy and Mommy. How can we say that? Let's all participate in this program now and go see with Mom if there's anything we can help with. Molly made a happy decision, and Fu Jing wanted to say something more. In the end, she didn't speak and obediently followed. Shinryue was stunned for a moment when she heard the sound of pushing the door and saw Molly, but soon returned to normal. There was some unpleasantness between the two of them due to the previous evaluation of Magnolia. Basically, she is a fan of Molly, chasing after Shinryue and cursing, feeling that she has snatched the prize that originally belonged to Molly. Shinryue doesn't care about these online rumors and can still treat her with a normal attitude now. "Why did you come?" Shinryue welcomed her and asked. "We just found a place to live and thought that the room you chose wasn't very good, so we came to see you and thought there was something I could help with." Molly smiled weakly. They were talking about this when Fu Jing followed Molly and gave Anan a fierce glare. Anan was startled and took a step back, touching Shinryue's hand. Shinryue immediately pulled her up. The temperature belonging to another person is transmitted, which also gives Anan some strength. She confidently lifted her head and stared back. She didn't do anything wrong. "You all tidy up now, this cabin looks so clean." Molly walked around the room and praised her. "This house has been built for a while now, and it doesn't look so good to me. The house is simple, so it's also easy to tidy up." Shinryue replied, feeling a bit confused about what Molly wanted to do, just taking a simple glance. "Sister, I was surprised to see you on the show this time. The director's team has kept the guest list too tight. But I think this is also an opportunity for me to apologize to you in person. Recently, my fans have said a lot of irrational things. Don't blame me, sister. They are also worried about me. Molly looked apologetic and even lowered her head with guilt after speaking. Shenryue was confused by her sudden and lengthy analysis. It's okay. In a hurry, she shook her head and waved her hands. Molly's behavior undoubtedly brought her a huge wave of goodwill, and fans were deeply moved. As a fan of my sister, I never regret apologizing specifically for us. I am truly touched. Sister is so kind. Her movie queen was robbed by someone, and now she still needs to apologize to the culprit. Shenryue's face is so big, she just accepted it like this. Really, the discontented voices of these fans almost exploded the entire screen. They just can't stand Molly coming over to apologize and bowing her head. The most important thing is that it has been done, and the most important thing has been said now. Molly took Fu Zheng's hand and bid farewell to Shenryue. These words are much more comfortable to say. Please take care of us when recording the program, sister. Let's go back first. You two, slow down. Shenryue escorted them outside the door. It's really strange. After returning, Shenryue muttered softly. Anen and their family, after all, have such a relationship. Although the agreement has been signed, Shenryue still hopes that Anen can have as little contact with them as possible, so as not to remind Anen of the time when she was despised. Participating in this program not only makes housing difficult, but also requires completing tasks such as eating. However, for this mission, the production team is still quite conscientious. He announced that guests from each group could go to the fields and freely pick vegetables to obtain ingredients, and make today's dinner by themselves. After reading the letter, Shenryue sighed with some sadness. Anen, if Mom cooks very poorly, would you dislike Mom? She anxiously asked for her regards. Shenryue knows her cooking skills too well. She can cook things well, but if they are especially delicious, it will be a bit difficult for her. It's okay, Mom. No matter what Mom does, Anen will love it. Anen shook her head. When she was with her biological mother before, she rarely ate the food she had cooked, so Anen was still looking forward to it. That's good. With your words, I can rest assured. Shenryue breathed a sigh of relief and took Anen to the vegetable garden behind the house. Common dishes are grown here, including lettuce and cucumber. Shenryue looked at the ingredients and came up with an idea. They can have cold noodles today. The mother and daughter rolled up their sleeves and pulled up vegetables in the field. The other groups of guests are also working hard for tonight's meal. Picking vegetables is easy and quickly fills a basket, and cooking is the challenge. Shenryue faced the stove like a formidable enemy, feeling that the oil was almost boiling hot, and threw the ingredients into it. After a growl, smoke unexpectedly rose from the pot. Shenryue was already inexperienced and didn't know what to do, so she hurriedly added some oil to it. She quickly stir-fried it twice and poured in a bucket of water. The final stir-fried dish, rather than being cooked, looks really unappealing when placed on the table. Shenryue reached out and wiped her face, rubbing it black from somewhere and turning her into a little flower cat. Let's give it a try. If it really doesn't taste good, then forget it. Shenryue suggested that if she couldn't, she would borrow some food from other guests, so the production team wouldn't have much to say. Anen and Shenryue sat at the table, holding chopsticks and tasting the dishes they had worked hard to make. Although it looks a bit scary, it's really okay to eat it, it's just a bit bland, at least it's cooked. Anen is not picky, and Shenryue can tolerate it. The two of them just finished eating. The audience in the barrage finally had a few voices of heartache. Oh my god, Anen is really good. That child at home doesn't eat easily. If it's like this, don't expect that ancestor to take a bite. This kind of food is also very interesting to show off. Molly made 3 dishes and 1 soup, it's really impressive. Let's make a bet that after finishing these, they will definitely find an opportunity to eat something else. When you're so happy, there's always someone who likes to bring up bad things. The fans in the room didn't get used to it either, so they directly scolded these two people who spoke sarcastically. Molly, always mentioning this person also makes passers-by feel a bit uncomfortable. After all, watching variety shows is all for relaxation, let alone they are in Shinryue's live broadcast room. Molly's fans always jump back and forth on the screen, which is too disappointing. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Clearly able to seize money. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Clearly able to seize money. The recording time quickly reached late at night. The live broadcast of the program team will not last for 24 hours, so it is still necessary to leave some privacy for the artists. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, the live broadcast will start on time. On the screen of the live broadcast room, a line of reminders appeared, and after more than 10 minutes, the live broadcast was automatically cut off. The artists have also received notifications from the director and production team that although the live broadcast has been cut off, they still need to continue living here. Shinryue dug out a blanket from the cabinet, which had a slight odor due to its dampness. But now the conditions are limited, they can only make do with it this way. Ainen, are you tired? Come and sleep now. Mom will hold you tonight. Shinryue waved at Ainen in bed. Ainen timidly leaned over to Shinryue's side, and it had been a long time since anyone had slept with her. Shinryue held her in her arms and covered her with a blanket. At night, the temperature here is slightly lower, and only when the two of them lean against each other will they not feel cold. The next morning, the live broadcast started on time. Fans who have been waiting for a long time immediately flocked to Shinryue's side, and with yesterday's various actions, he also gained the love of many people. After all, the perception of passers-by is still easy to change. The audience who hurriedly entered the live broadcast room saw Shinryue and Ainen hugging each other, sleeping soundly. This kind of environment, which can be considered simple, will still attract sympathy and heartache from everyone. To be honest, this environment is indeed a bit too bad. My poor little Ainen, did she sleep in this kind of environment yesterday? I came to see my internet daughter early in the morning. With the barrage flashing, Shinryue and Ainen also woke up. The two of them quickly tidied up, and the task letter from the director's team was also delivered to them. Beautiful scenery, comfortable life, a whole night's rest, I believe everyone has regained their strength. A beautiful day starts in the morning, and for today's food, please bravely take action. The program team's cards are all tricks, isn't that just to keep them suffering? Shinryue brought an end to the gathering point, and other families also arrived. The live broadcast footage was summarized again. Several fans gathered in a live broadcast room, and friction was inevitable, with the most serious being Molly and Shinryue. It's really unlucky to see Shinryue's face again. Today's Molly sister is so beautiful. I want to say that the people of Magnolia are blind, aren't they? Why didn't they choose us Molly's sister? Molly's fans are jumping around here, and Shinryue's fans are naturally not happy to see it. Come on, don't jump here with fans of a certain family. The head of your family apologized yesterday, even though his words were particularly green tea. Molly is a pure green tea, and her fans are like crazy people with such a counterattack. Both sides naturally started arguing again and refused to compromise with each other. The popularity of the program team has once again been raised to a higher level. The director naturally enjoys this situation, otherwise he wouldn't have invited these two guests. Okay, our families are all here now. After a night's rest, everyone should also be hungry now. Let me show you the rich breakfast we have prepared. With the director's command, the long tablecloth in front of him was torn open, revealing the food inside. Steamed buns, congee, soybean milk, all kinds of breakfasts are plentiful. Everyone was a bit hungry and their eyes lit up in an instant. Isn't that right? The director is so kind today, treating us to such a good breakfast. Mo Wen-shan doesn't quite believe it. In the previous episode, the director also did a lot of tricks. Our actor is still smart. You can have this breakfast now, but it is marked with the price. In the future, you will have to exchange food for labor. The director laughed heartily, and now the price of food has also been opened up. After seeing it clearly, everyone took a breath of cold air, 300 steamed buns and 100 congee. Director, are you crazy in trying to extort us? Shinryue couldn't bear it for the first time. Even though we could snatch money, director, you chose to give us breakfast. Mo Winshan remained speechless. Molly smiled slightly and said, it's okay, we'll work hard to complete the task today. Ching Ching shrugged, depending on the situation, he could only follow the director's script. Okay, everyone can start choosing. The director smiled. Since that's the case, Shinryue squatted down and said, Ainen, what do you want to eat? Let's start choosing now, okay? These things are so expensive. Ainen has tried it before, but she has never eaten anything so expensive before. Now hearing her mother let her choose, Ainen hesitated a bit. She didn't want to become an annoying child. Being targeted by so many cameras, Ainen felt a bit embarrassed. She leaned over to Shinryue and whispered, Mom, Ainen can do without eating. These are all too expensive. After speaking, Ainen reached out and pinched the hem of her clothes. She was so scared, afraid that the warm home she had finally found would be far away from her. Shinryufu reached her soul and suddenly guessed the unfinished meaning of Ainen. She suddenly felt even more heartbroken and said, it's okay, Ainen can eat whatever she wants. With her mother around, Ainen doesn't need to worry about these things. Go ahead and choose. Shinryue patted Ainen and urged her to go and pick quickly. Even if Ainen glanced at it, Shinryue would take it down directly. She is not considering the price now, her only goal is to make her Ainen eat well. Enough, enough. Ainen quickly reached out her little hand and covered her eyes. Her mother's love made her heart beat wildly. But she really can't eat anymore, she's going to waste it. The whispers between the two just now were clearly heard by the audience in the live broadcast room through the loudspeaker. This small interaction once again made everyone whimper. Oh my God, where can I find a sensible child like Ainen? She really makes me feel so sorry for him and he wants to cry. Who knows, Shinryue's big hand wave is so charming. Ainen must have suffered a lot of damage before, only Shinryue can make up for it. To be honest, I admire Shinryue a bit. Ainen is not his biological child, but Shinryue has not shown any disgust. This mentality is really great. Everyone's attitude towards Shinryue has improved a bit. A person who can be so kind to children is essentially impossible. He is a wicked and unforgivable person. Molly's fans looked at these words and found them extremely glaring. But apart from a few scattered people jumping out to speak, the remaining fans are still very rational and not busy stepping out. Everyone's breakfast has now been selected, although the program team has set a very high price, everyone has also chosen a few items. End of this chapter.